right, now this is for 3.3 and it's part two. And what we're going to be doing here is we're going to look at the addition rule for probability, but we're going to look at it now for mutually exclusive events. So we'll have two things we want to remember. One, the addition rule tells us that the probability of A or B is going to equal the probability of A plus the probability of B minus the probability of A intersect B. Okay? So, and then two, we want to remember that to be mutually exclusive means that the probability of A intersect B is equal to 0. It's empty. Okay, so there's no probability of that occurring, so consequently it's going to end up being empty. Well, you can kind of see if you're kind of paying attention a little bit here or focusing on the right thing, you can see that that changes. If two events are mutually exclusive, so that's a piece of information that we know about the two events, they're mutually exclusive, then probability of A or B is going to equal, again, probability of A plus the probability of B, but this thing right there, probability A intersect B, is going to be 0. So it's going to end up just being the probability of A plus the probability of B. So that actually makes computation a bit simpler because what we don't have to worry about is we don't have to worry about removing the double counting because there's no intersection. Okay, so let me give you an example of how this works. So suppose that we have a deck of cards, right? And so there are 52 cards in a deck. And then we have suits for the cards. So we have 4 kings and 4 queens. And what we know is a king cannot be a queen and vice versa. Okay, so a king cannot be a queen and vice versa. So what that means is that A intersect B is what we call empty. There's nothing in it. And so kings and queens as events are mutually exclusive. Okay. Consequently, when I find the probability of king or queen, I'm going to take that into account. It's going to be, right, the probability of king plus the probability of queen minus the probability of king and queen, but that third one is simply going to be 0. So it's going to end up just being 4 out of 52 plus 4 out of 52, which is 8 out of 52, which equals 0.154. So this is really key. What we're doing now is we're working with some probability. We're thinking about the scenario. Maybe we're told that the two events are mutually exclusive. Maybe we're not. Maybe we have to think about it and see, are these two things, these two events, mutually exclusive? And if they are, what that tells us is that the intersection of the two of them is going to equal 0. So consequently, when we use our addition rule, we're going to take that into account. And we just need to add the two of them individually. Okay, so I know something about the problem. That is that my two events are mutually exclusive. I need to factor that into how I think about this particular problem. Okay, and that ends the lesson.